My friend Roy, among other things, was the greatest plumber ever. He really was. He could fix anything. He was a pro. And after he died on opening day of 2008, the final year of Shea Stadium, and it just hit home as, man, opening day, I decided to get ashes from his mother and spread them at the ballpark. When we started, I was like, how do you do this without getting in trouble? When it hit me, it just was like a lightning bolt. I walked in that bathroom and I didn't even think. I said, oh yeah, and I just, without a thought, drop it and flush it. And I knew that's what I'm gonna do. My name's Thomas Porky McDonald. People call me Tom or Porky. And people say that's a little out there, but it absolutely fits. You know, it wouldn't have worked for anyone else. It's one of those times in your life you know exactly what you're doing is right and you don't know why. So I have Met tickets and Cyclone tickets on this, and this is the can that Mrs. Regal gave me that I filled with the ashes. Yeah, it's famously fresh, but I made it famously Fess, S-B-S-S. I started calling him Fess, and that became, Fess was his nickname. And so we all called him Roy, but his best friends, a lot of us called him Fess. But you had to understand the man and the neighborhood I grew up in. When you grew up in Astoria in the 70s, you knew everybody. I feel lucky that we got to grow up in a neighborhood like that. And I can tell you, a guy like Roy was a really funny guy, really smart guy. But the one thing is, as long as I remember, when we were young, he was a plumber. That was kind of a known thing from when we were in our 20s. The main thing you knew was I never had to worry about my pipes. I know many times, not just myself, people would say, if you see Roy around, some people's parents give him some money, but it was usually, you know, six pack of beer, hang out, I'll buy dinner. He would charge, if you had to get parts, you pay for it. And I know, other than when he was working for different contractors, whoever, where he's not making the call, he was never making a lot of money doing that. You know, he just enjoyed it. There was always that underlying compassion, that kind of decency about him. And I knew because I was very close to him. He was as good a friend as you could have. I can tell you the best year of our lives was 1973. I am telling you, we lived at that ballpark all summer. That was home. And when the Mets came out of nowhere, Roy was one of the three people that was on the field with me when the Mets beat the Reds. I went to as many Met games with him as probably anybody. 2008, I come home from opening day from the Met game. My mother lived next door and she called me inside. She had been taking a walk and she saw an ambulance outside the house. She went and found out. And she called me and said, sit down, and she told me that Roy's dead. When he had said he'd want to start going on the road with me, because, you know, I got to go on a couple of trips with you guys. And I was really looking forward to him going because we grew up together. And the fact that he could, you know, on opening day 2008, that all ended, I really had had enough. At that moment, I had enough. I had to do something. I instantly thought of the ashes. I said, boy, if I got Roy's ashes. I knew Mrs. Regal. She was one of the mothers that called me Porky, to give you an idea how close she was to me. And she said, Porky, sure, yeah, whatever you want to do. Every time I went, I'd fill, a little Advil bottle. Which one of the, so I got about 17 times to empty out the can, but I would take one of these because they're not going to give you trouble, in your bag. I kept it in my bag and next to another one, which actually had Advils and vitamins or whatever I had for the weekend. But yeah, each time you went, you dip. I had like a little cone I had made out of paper, and I would, pour it in and try not to spill any, whatever. But that was how we did it. That was the meat and potatoes of how we did it, yeah. All I wanted to do was spread his ashes because I have this can, and once it was empty, that was it. I really didn't have a plan, and that's what was funny, that I didn't have a plan made this happen, because I said, what am I going to do when I got there? It hit me like, you can't just pour these ashes. And my buddy Adam, Monica, and I, that goes with me to a lot of my trips, I said, well, how do we do this? I just wasn't comfortable. So I left it in my pocket. I literally forgot about it. That night, we went to eat at an Irish pub a couple blocks from the ballpark. And while we were there, I went into the men's room and it hit me. And it's like you get a revelation. I said, oh my God, I know what to do with this. And I just said, if I hit it and flush it, it was like worlds collided. Everything hit, and it was exactly the thing to do. I said, he's the greatest plumber ever. And for that time, it's going through the veins of the ballpark for the time being. You pour it on the field, it blows away. So what's the difference? And it was unique. It fit our neighborhood. It fit the way we were, because everyone that knew him knew about the plumbing part. Most of them, if not all of them, at one time or another, he had been in their home fixing their plumbing. So that was what they yeah. So altogether, it was 14 parks. The reward was all the people I heard from. It made him feel proud of the neighborhood. We use Roy as the example. I always said it was more about, this story's about friendship more. It wasn't about me, it wasn't about him maybe. It was about that idea of the old neighborhood of Astoria and the friends that you made and how that was. And it absolutely fits. It wouldn't have worked for anyone else.